So about this time last year, we were fitting front flares from SS Tuning to Sriracha. Then earlier this year, we were fitting front flares again from SS Tuning to Mustard, as you see here. And now we are about to fit the third set, but the car that they're going on may surprise you. So we were teasing for a little bit that a third car in the group was going to receive SS Tuning flares, but we were being a little bit secretive as to which car it was. Well, as the title of the video has revealed now, it's my mother's. So yes, this is not clickbait, this is not a joke. My mother is actually going with SS flares for her car. Now, just a quick note before I go any further here, please excuse the dark footage, given that it's only a few weeks till IMSS, where we're hoping to debut this thing. I'm working late each night on all the various projects. I'm currently filming this about 10:30, so the sun has of course long since set. But it's my only chance to really show this before everything goes off for paint, so hopefully you can excuse the dark footage. But anyway, yes, my mother has decided to go with SS Tuning flares for her Focus. Now, I guess we should probably rewind a little bit for anyone who is not familiar with this car. If you've been following the site for a few years now, you may remember this, but it's not been seen too much. This is my mother's daily driver, actually, as shown by the color being Yellow Blaze. This is a 2012, just like mine. The backstory to this is a few years back, she needed a new daily driver. It was time for her to replace the car she was using. I simply recommended that she look at a third-gen Focus because I was familiar with them. I knew they were safe, reliable, easy on gas, cheap to run, everything that she would want in a car. So she started to look, and when she found the car that had the options she wanted, was the right mileage, the right price, and everything else, by chance, it happened to be Yellow Blaze, so she went for it. Now, if you know Mark III Foci, you know that Yellow Blaze was actually a relatively rare color. There were 2,800 sedans made in it and 1,323 hatches made in it, so the fact that the one she found was such a rare color and, yes, coincidentally would match mine kind of helped convince her to buy it. But anyway, this is what she bought, so she's been running this for a few years as her daily. As you'll see, it has also evolved a little bit. She bought it initially saying that she would not modify it, of course. We've all said that, but if you know my mother, if you, again, follow the site, you know that she is also quite active in the local car community. She has, of course, her restored 67 Thunderbird. She also has her all-original 93 240SX. And given that neither of those cars could really be tweaked, the Thunderbird, of course, was restored to original specifications, doesn't want to alter it from that. And the 240 being all original, we can't modify it, we don't wish to modify it. She started to tinker with this a little bit and make it her own, since it wasn't a classic car, it wasn't some all original car, she could tweak it and not worry about anything. So, over the last few years, it's received 57 DRs, actually my old set. She was the one who bought them off me. There's an OEM ST wing, which came from Ketchup, of course, no surprise there. Up front, hopefully you can see it in the dark footage, again, please excuse that. There is the Downforce USA carbon fiber front lip. It's not the piece that I ran, like not the exact lip, but it is the same lip. I still have mine on my original bumper, which is stored away. And then there's other little things like vinyl wrap mirrors, air intake, and some paint trim inside and so forth. But anyway, moving into this season, she was starting to, I guess, get the itch to tweak it a little bit more. Of course, she sees what the rest of us do with our cars, with Mustard, Sriracha, Seltz, and so forth. And having seen the SS kits on our cars, she decided that she wanted to run them. So, to her credit, this is all her doing. Like, I will sometimes give her guidance on parts or where to go for parts. She'll come to me with ideas of what she wants to do, and I'll give her recommendations, but getting the SS kit was her call. This was her decision, so this really is her build. Now I am testing it for her because I have experience with this, so I'm handling the mock-up, and I'm sure that probably Mario and I, or Brian and I, or someone and I will handle the fitting of it, or help her with the fitting of it anyway. But yeah, this was her call. So what we have here, as you may have seen a second ago, the other side's mocked up already, but this is the full V1 set from SS Tuning, so the original set of flares with the slightly different, almost tiered cutouts there. And she is also doing the rears, something that Mario and I did not do because, as we'll get to in a bit here, We did not want to cut up our cars to fit these, but with her setup, we don't have to. You'll know that Mario and I both cut our fenders on Sriracha and Mustard respectively because our cars are lowered, and in order to actually be able to, you know, drive and turn and nice things like that, we had to cut back the arches in order for the tires to clear. So you can see there's some pretty heavy trimming of the flares. The lip that would be there has been taken back, and the actual metal fender inside has been cut up as well so that we don't catch anything. But that is where this car will be a little bit easier because it is not lowered, and she does not intend to lower it because she likes the comfort of the factory suspension. We don't have to cut anything. Now, that will seem probably a little odd to most people familiar with flares, but SS's kits are actually designed to go over these stock panels. They're not intended to have the paneling cut. So I think Mario and I are definitely in the minority there, having cut up our cars for it, but this one we don't have to. Now, the fronts, of course, doesn't really matter. It's just a fender, you know, you can replace those easily, but the rear is where you run into issues because quarter panels are more than one layer. There's the outside layer and also the arch inside. So when you cut these, you have to also then bring out the inner layer of metal, weld it back together, seal it up, and all that to avoid getting moisture and dirt in there and rust. So that's why Mario and I did not do rears. Cutting fenders doesn't matter. It's one piece of metal, like I said. Cutting quarters is a completely different ballgame, and we did not want to A, permanently alter our cars with that, and also B, run the risk of rust or other issues down the road. So that's the reason that she is doing the full kit, is because since there's no cutting, there's no harm in it, so we can just bond the SS flares over top and we will be good to go. So I should probably get to the flares now. I've got this side taped up already, as you can see, to protect the paint. Obviously the car itself is not going for paint, so we don't want to scratch anything while test fitting, hence why all the contact points have been covered up with tape. But as you can see here, here's the other side more or less fully mocked up, just to check clearances and so forth. Now, the bed liner gets in the way a little bit, but the big thing is because this has the OEM mudguards on it still, the rear pieces obviously don't really fit, so we can't hold them in place, but we can see that the gaps, or panel gaps, line up and they'll fit where they need to, so that's all good. I've got faith that they are good to go. You can see here, that's the little lip that they mold in, so that is what actually will sit just inside the edge of the bumper here and bond there. And then, sorry, I was looking at the screen. And then of course we have the big rear piece on the quarter panel, which goes all the way around, comes down, and then the little door finishers. Unlike Honda, SS actually does make door finishers to go with the rear flares. So that's the rear mocked up. All lines up really well, fits nicely out of the box. They're not sitting completely flush. There's just the slightest of curves to them from probably curing, I guess, but once they're actually bonded to the car, they will be, of course, flush against the panels. But yeah, everything lines up. There's the rear door piece. You can see it adds a little bit of width, nothing too crazy, but just enough. And then everything shuts nicely. Obviously, again, like I keep saying, that's not fully flush yet, so it's not sitting exactly where it will, but that's the rear. And then up here is the front. So, like I said earlier, because it has mud flaps, things don't fit totally flush against the car, but I'm doing what I can for now. That's going to be pulled off, of course, once the flares are actually back and go on for good. But yeah, there's the front. Just two piece this time, of course, since nothing runs onto the doors. So you have the main piece and then the little bumper finisher. Now I said earlier too that this was the V1 set specifically, and it had this kind of two-step design. This, according to SS, this might be the last V1 set they will produce for the Focus, just because the molds are getting older, and they may move exclusively to the V2s from now on, so it's kind of neat that she was able to get possibly the last set. Overall, the styling is not too different. There's a few different body lines and things as compared to the V2 version. But the biggest difference between V1 and V2 is actually the mounting method. So if we flip one of these over, laying it down gently, of course, not mark it up too badly, the V2 flares, as Mustard has, have basically lips all the way around, giving you a bigger surface to apply the adhesive and bonding agents to. So they're molded with a nice flat lip all the way around the pieces, whereas these V1s, as you can see, do not have that. So when we come to apply the sorry, it's late, I'm getting tired, the adhesives, double-sided tapes and all that, we can still of course apply it right to the rough fiberglass here, but there's just no nice finished lip. So the big thing with V2 was just an easier mounting method overall. These of course will still be pretty straightforward to install, very secure, but that was just a little revision they'd made after producing these for a while. I will carry on now, mock up this whole side, verify that it's good to go, which I'm sure it will be, and then once I pick up the side skirts from Advantage tomorrow, I can run everything out to Speedy, drop it off for paint, and hopefully soon we will have it all back and we can install it. It would not be either Driven or Sunday School without last-minute installs, right? And so there it is, there's the other side all mocked up. As you would have seen, the process is fairly straightforward. Since they line up with the factory body lines, it's not too hard to get them positioned properly. Everything fits really well. Again, the rear spat is not on just because of that mud flap in the way. And also, that's why the front flare is not sitting flush. But the other pieces are all in place, everything lines up really nicely. And that means that these can go off for paint. I'm really excited to see these things color matched and on the car for real. But anyway, that's it for today. Thank you for watching. As always, check the site for more info on all of the projects. The full stories, extra pictures, extra notes, and everything else go up there. And we will hopefully have more on this as well as the other projects soon. So, thank you for watching, and I'll see you all later.